Look at this woman. She is the fastest woman in history. And this is her incredible story. Imagine yourself being in the 70s and studying in the university. You have doubts about continuing, however, because you feel a thrill every time a race car speeds past you. And in that precise moment, you begin to dream. You are on your favorite track, taking every corner perfectly. It's the perfect dream for a person passionate about motorsports. But there's one thing. Imagine that the main character of this dream is a woman. You know, in 1970, you cannot realize that dream just because you are a woman. Because yeah, back in those days, things were really hard for women. Well, what I'm about to tell you, it's not just a dream, but it's a true story. Because I'm talking about her, the queen of speed, Michèle Mouton. Michèle Mouton was born in June 23rd, 1951 in Grasse, which is a town in the French Riviera, called the City of the Perfume. That's because that city was very famous for flowers farms used to create the perfumes. And Michèle's family had a big farm. So Michèle, after the college, went to the university to study law. But since the young age, she had only one scent in her mind, which were not the flowers, but the petrol. When she was only 14 years old, she drove her first car, a Citroën from his father. And when she was 21, she discovered, thanks to a friend, the passion for rallying, helping him to prepare the Tour de Corse. Just 1 year later, Michèle Mouton jumped into a rally car, participating as a co-driver in the Monte Carlo rally with the same friend that she helped the year before. But you know, when you have motorsports in your vein, it's hard to be just a co-driver. And I understand her, I would never do that. Because she wanted to drive too. And not only, Michèle is convinced that she can race against anyone. The problem is that in those years, the motorsport in general was thought to be just a man's sport, not suitable for women. Michèle, since the beginning, was forced to fight against the stairs. And worse from the other participants, who didn't think she could even climb a gear. Well, you know what? They were all wrong. Michèle goes fast, really fast. Obviously, not only she had talent, but she also had money, thanks to the family business, because you know, even in the 70s, even if you're a woman, you always need money to race.
Here comes the money!
Here we go!
But thanks to those money, her father promised her that he would have paid for her races. But this was the deal. If you prove me you're fast enough, I can pay for them. But if you're not, you won't be racing anymore. Well, in 1974, in the Tour de Corse, Michèle made her debut in the World Rally Championship. And you know what? In her Alpine 110, she finished the race 12th, close to the top 10. That was an impressive result for a woman in 1974. So impressive that at the end of the race, the first bad words against her started to circulate. They put her car under investigation, pointing the finger at her car, thinking there was something irregular, because it was impossible that a woman could drive that fast. Obviously, the result was just about skills, because the steward checked the car and found nothing irregular. She simply was faster than the man she had beaten. But because she was a woman, the man could not accept it.
Yes, they start to say that my engine was not was too much power or something like that in the beginning. But I mean now on the top level, you know, still I don't know if they accept it completely. But still they have to, because if I am in front, they have to stay behind. This is the only problem. But I'm sure forever they will never accept it, really.
And another reason why she was not recognized as a real racer was that she was competing only in rallies and not in circuits. So, you know what? She decided to compete also in circuits. And not in any race, but she decided to race in 1975 to the 24 Hours of Le Mans with an all-female team. Can you imagine that? Obviously, they won the class where they were racing in, and in that race she did something incredible. Because at some point it started to rain and she was racing on slicks. So what do you do when you're racing on slick and it starts to rain? You go back to the pits and you change the tires, right? Well, she decided to stay out, and with the slicks all wet, she passed everybody. Those incredible feats eventually started to attract the big manufacturer's name, such as Fiat, where she raced from 1977 until 1980, touching the top 3 in the Corsica Rally. But the turning point came into 1981, when she received a phone call from Audi.
If I have some emotion, of course it's the noise of the Quattro. I mean, nobody can forget the noise. Even today, I think we miss this kind of noise.
That year, she was going to be an Audi official driver. Time to show what she was made of. Well, obviously, when you have to prove your talent, everything goes wrong, because that season was a complicated season, made of many retirements due to technical problems and a disqualification in Greece for technical problems. But apart from that, the first rally in the WRC came. Michèle got it in Sanremo, in Italy, one of the most prestigious and long and tough races, and she became the first woman in history to win a race in the World Rally Championship. And at that point, her rivals were incredulous. Think that before the event, Ari Vatanen, who won the world title in 1981, said, "I will never lose to a woman driver." Well, she won the race and he finished 7th. So, for the following season, Michèle had only one goal: to become the world champion. 1982. The Audi Quattro became the new Group B, which is the main class of the World Rally Championship. I'm talking about very powerful machines capable of developing 600 horsepower. The season starts in Monte Carlo, and Michèle is very charged up. She wants to win at any cost, and wants to set a record straight from the start. However, she has a bad crash, from which she and her co-driver came out battered. But that crash, that injury doesn't stop them, and Michèle Mouton and Fabrizia Pons came back stronger than before, ready for the Swedish rally. Immersed in the cold and the ice, they finish 5th and they recover very important championship points. That season, the main opponent was Walter Röhrl, the German champion driving the Opel Ascona 400 and very famous for this quote: "When you see the tree you're driving into, you have understeer. But if you can hear it, you have oversteer." And that's simple yet genius. You know, if you see the tree, understeer. If you just hit it, oversteer. Anyway, Walter Röhrl was so fast and such a tough opponent that after the first 2 races he was already flying away in the championship. Things changed in the 3rd round in Portugal, where Michèle Mouton won for the 2nd time and Walter Röhrl scored 8-0. Michèle is unstoppable and also won in Greece and Brazil. And it all comes down to the last 2 races, the Ivory Coast and the Great Britain. Michèle has a concrete chance to become world champion. One curious thing is that initially Audi didn't plan to race the African stages because, it was super expensive to go there and race. Also because in the World Rally Championship you were allowed to discard the worst results. But considering that Michèle is fighting for the title, Audi decided to race in the Ivory Coast. If Michèle wins both races, she will be world champion. The tension is running high, and the weekend is shaped to be very hot and very hard. Some drivers said that inside the car, drivers were experiencing 70 degrees Celsius. Not only it was going to be a hard weekend, but it became even harder. Because unfortunately, on the morning of the first stage, Michèle received a phone call. One of those phone calls that you will receive only once in life, and that you never want to receive. They called Michèle to tell her that the person that made everything possible, that believed in her at first, which is her father, just passed away. And you know what was her father's last wish? It was that Michèle did that race. And so she did. Michèle gets into the car and starts to drive as fast as she can to run away from the pain. She didn't care about the extreme conditions. She just wants to win. At the end of the 2nd stage, she has almost 1 hour of lead on Walter Röhrl. 1 hour! On the 3rd day, however, due to many technical problems, she saw that advantage shrink to 18 minutes. But she's still leading the rally. It all comes down to the final day, the decisive one. That day, during the stage, Michèle loses control of the car and rolls over. That's a bad accident, so bad that the championship for her is over. Walter Röhrl wins the rally and becomes the 1982 world champion. Michèle didn't win the title, that's true. She didn't become a world champion, that's true. However, she did an incredible season, winning more than anyone else and helping Audi win the constructor title. Michèle Mouton that year was awarded Driver of the Year in the rally category. She kept racing until 85 with Audi, then she raced with the Peugeot, collecting some podiums. After securing the victory in 1986 in the German Championship, Michèle Mouton announced that she will be retiring from rallying. In 1988, with the help of Frederick Johnson, she created the Race of Champions, which still exists today and which is one of the biggest events in motorsports. In 2010, she became the first president of the FIA's Women's and Motorsport Commission. Michèle may not have won the world title in 1982. However, the feeling is that her defeat should have been celebrated as a victory, because actually it was. If you ask anyone before Michèle Mouton, what were the odds of seeing a woman competing in the World Championship and winning races in the World Championship, everybody would have answered 0. And this is why her story is extraordinary. Because she fought against the prejudice and barrier and she destroyed them, proving that a woman can race against men and beat them. And this is why even today Michèle Mouton is a big benchmark. Because beating a 0 chance is not that common. Today we celebrate the International Women's Day, and this video was made to celebrate Michèle Mouton, the Queen of Speed.